Hello and welcome to today's Facebook LinkedIn Live. As people are joining on, let us know if you can hear us all okay. It's a real pleasure to be with you. It's a bit rainy here on this Tuesday, but thank you so much to everyone that is joining us today live and on the replay. I'm delighted because I'm chatting to one of my favorite people, Rebecca Newenham, who is the owner of a franchise called Get Ahead, and we're going to be talking all about why a franchise could be perfect for somebody that wants a flexible and rewarding career. So do let us know your experiences of franchises. Maybe you've used a franchise as a customer before, or maybe you've considered it as a career before. Let us know all your experiences in the comments, whether you're watching this live or on the replay, because we do read them. And thank you so much to Rebecca for joining me today. It's an absolute pleasure to chat with you and learn more about franchising and business, because I love talking about business, which is I know what we're going to be talking about. So if someone is watching this now and has never heard the word franchise, could you give us an overview as to what a franchise actually is?
Yes, no, of course. Lovely to be here, Liz, as always. So a franchise is a business model that's been tried and tested by somebody else. So if I take Get Ahead as an example, I was trading for about 6 years, wanted to scale, so then worked with a franchise consultant to make a franchise opportunity available. So it's a tried and tested business in a box, basically. And that's often a term you'll probably hear quite a lot if you're looking at how to set up a business on your own or buy into something that's already been established. So the business in a box means it's tried and tested. Somebody's gone through the whole process ahead of you and worked out exactly what you as an individual need to do in order to launch as a business owner in your area.
And I suppose make money, really.
No, absolutely. So we all, if you're listening to this and you've perhaps set up on your own and you've been self-employed, you know firsthand how time-consuming and sometimes painful that can be, because you're brand new to something and you're learning on the job. Well, with a franchise, as I said, someone's already ahead of you. They've learned, they've made those mistakes, and they've produced all singing, all dancing business for you to launch wherever you are.
I love that. I'm just turning my heat off, because you know what? I've started listening to this podcast. Hi, Afsa. Thanks for joining us. And it's by a guy called Donald Miller, and it's all about scaling a small business. And there's a really interesting stat that sort of stuck with me, that 65% of businesses fail in their first 10 years. So the vast majority of businesses fail.
And I think even in the first year, it's sort of...
Yeah, exactly. Really high. Yeah. And I suppose that's what you're saying, that this business is proven to work. You don't have to figure it out. You don't have to listen to every single I am doing. Listen to all these different podcasts, trying to figure it out, because you're on your own, when you set up a business like from scratch. But like with a franchise, you've got somebody that's done it, and they know, it can work, basically. If you follow those steps you're given.
There are certain personality types that like to try everything themselves and do it, but there are others that like that, time is of the essence, isn't it? You want to, if you're setting something up, you want to crack on with it and know you're going to make some cash, and that actually this is going to build and work, rather than sort of trying something, investing. I mean, we all know how emotional it is when you're setting something up yourself, because you're exposing yourself, you're showing yourself to be that person behind the brand. So if you can do anything to speed up that process, then buying a franchise is certainly a route to market.
Really, yeah. Do you know what? I've just had another thought. Thanks, Samantha. Samantha says I'm becoming a franchise expert. I suppose as well, they say, if you set up on your own, if you don't take investment, you maybe don't grow as quickly or as fast. So this is another way actually for you to grow a business pretty quickly without having to take that investment as well.
And another big part of it is you're not on your own. And that's often what, I'll say when I'm interviewing prospective franchisees. What I'm finding that they love is that they know that they're going to be in a safe environment. They're going to be in a non-competitive environment as well, because when you are starting out on your own, you might have that awful imposter syndrome, looking at everyone else, thinking, who can I ask questions to? Who can I trust? And I think that plays a huge part in buying into a franchise as well. So, you've got your sort of cheerleaders under the whole umbrella of the business that you're buying into, which is invaluable.
Yeah. Okay, so someone's watching this, they want to set up a business, they think this is a really good route to becoming a business owner? Are they, are they a proper business owner, or is there any sort of strings attached when you have a franchise?
Oh yeah, no, totally. If you're buying a franchise, you are that business owner. So I think it's making sure that you as a personality are wanting that, because some people, you have to be brutally honest with yourself, Liz, don't you? If you're starting out down the self-employed route, are you definitely wanting to do that, or are you thinking, well, perhaps I ought to try that because there's nothing else going on? Some people are born to be employees, and other people are born into that sort of sense of doing something themselves.
Absolutely. So someone watching this thinks, yeah, it sounds quite a good way to own my own business with support, with a proven business model that is more likely to succeed than if I did it completely on my own.
Yes.
But obviously, how then do you find a franchise? Then you think, okay, it sounds quite good.
On Google. So British
Google franchise. Right. How do you start?
And I think that's what's fascinating. So if you're doing that research, you'll suddenly look at brands with a slightly different viewpoint, because you'll realise actually how many franchises there are in the UK alone. So I would say go to the British Franchise Association website, the BFA. That's definitely where legitimate, ethical, and ethical is a big word in franchising, ethical brands are housed under the BFA. I'm not just saying that because we're part of that. You have to go through rigorous testing and approval to get on that site. So if you're looking at franchising, go there and just do some research, and you'll naturally start seeing a pattern in the different types of franchises that are out there. Whether it's children, we were talking earlier, Liz, about the children's market is vast in terms of franchising, all the different children's activities, right through to gyms, franchises with premises, all of those things. It's a great place to go and do some research, because I think franchising can fit, you're buying into a proven model, but are you wanting to commit to part-time hours? Are you keen to do something just in term time? Do you want something that's, full-time, full-blown hours? There are all sorts of options, and that's really exciting as well. It's not, there's lots of choice.
Okay, brilliant. So give us some examples of franchises then we might have come across as a customer.
Well, now you're putting me on the spot.
Oh, sorry.
So I'm going to say my lovely friend Sam runs Domestic Angel. So there are lots of cleaning franchises, for example. There are also large gyms, travel, so travel counsellors, all those sort of travel businesses are huge, right through to freight, couriers, you name it. So do have a look on there, because there are some huge ones, and often things like Esquire's coffee shop, I think they're a franchise.
Oh really? Yeah, no.
Yeah, you suddenly start seeing, I think what comes out of that is you realise that it's the tried and tested model. So the franchisee has bought into something and they're replicating that. And that's what's interesting. So you want the same experience wherever you go. So I look at my franchise. I want our clients under the Get Ahead umbrella to have the same experience, whether they're talking to Fiona, who runs our Leeds franchise, or Christy and Suzanne down in Berkshire. So that comes through the training that you're given as a franchisee as well.
Is McDonald's a franchise?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're actually brilliant franchise, aren't they? Because you know
are
what you're going to get. You go to get McDonald's in, Brighton, Edinburgh, Singapore, New York, wherever, the fries are going to taste exactly the
same. And they tick all those boxes, that they know the experience will be the same, and it all is very easy for the customer.
Yeah. Brilliant.
That one. Yes.
Yeah. No. And also, I know that I used to go to a lot of baby groups. And they used to be run by people that own franchises.
Absolutely. So the sort of I'm trying to think, not jingle jangles, the sort of the music.
It was Monkey Music.
Monkey Music, yes.
Yeah, and I think Heartbeats is Heartbeats.
Oh, that's probably out too long ago for me. But Little Learners is another one. Lovely Rachel that runs that. And it's amazing.
And they're quite nice. It depends, I guess, how much capital you've got, because they're quite nice. If you don't, we'll come on to investment, but I guess you don't need a premises for that. Like if you were opening a McDonald's franchise, you'd need to, I guess, rent the restaurant,
and a gym, and all that. And that forms a huge part of the franchise thing. You're right. So it's sort of thinking about what aspirations you've got and actually what's realistic.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously you have to buy a franchise, I guess, because you're buying some, that expertise, you're buying the model, you're buying the systems.
Yes.
So what I mean, I guess it depends, like we talked about, but what sort of how much is the typical investment for
So
a franchise?
generally you're buying a 5-year license. So that's what, and exactly like you said, you're buying the expertise. And often I've broken ours down saying it's the price of a takeout coffee a day for everything that you're given. And sometimes it's hard as a prospect to sort of actually quantify why that price is as it is. So you've got the entry point franchises, a few thousand, right up to sort of, 500,000 for some of them, and large ones that want premises, you're right, factor into that price. So it's sort of understanding, and there are so many ways of funding it as well. I'll often talk to prospect franchisees about startup loans. I'm a mentor for Virgin Startup, and I know if you get a startup loan through them, you also get mentoring, 8 hours worth of mentoring. So that you can be quite imaginative in how you source your cash. But the one thing I would say, if you're looking at a franchise, it's not just that franchise fee. You've got to remember, you've got to have an element of cash flow in your business as well, in order when you're first starting out. So don't sort of assume that it's just the franchise fee, but on the flip side, you can pay that in a flexible way. So don't let it put you off either.
Yeah. And you know what? It isn't free to start your own business. I'm
No,
just
you think
when you said it's like a price of coffee, I spend that on my website, the hosting and the management. So
yeah, so it's sort of breaking that down, and then I think you suddenly open your eyes to actually what's involved in starting out a business.
Yeah,
it's huge, isn't it?
It's huge. It's not. It's not. Unfortunately, it's not. It's not free. Yeah, wouldn't it be good? Okay, so and then what happens at the end of the 5? So you said they're often on a 5-year license. What happens at the end of that 5 years?
So speaking from my own experience, it then if the franchisee wants to carry on, then the license just gets extended.
And you have to pay. Is it like the same fee again, or is it
no? I mean, certainly not for ours. And I don't know. I can't talk about everyone else, but I get the impression that no, you don't have to pay again. You might have to pay legal fees to perhaps reissue another license, but generally you don't have to. And also you may say, actually, after those 5 years, right, I want to do something else now. And that's when you could potentially sell the territory that you've got and the business you've got. So there are lots of sort of pre-sale opportunities out there as well.
Okay. And do some franchises support then in that sales process if you resell?
No, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that plays into sort of a conversation around, if you're buying into a franchise, really, I would say interrogate's the wrong word, but make sure that the franchisor or the owner of the overall business is somebody you can work with. And I think that's sometimes where franchising has had bad press, because you hear about, the greedy franchise owner that says, oh, thank you very much, I'll take your money for that license, and then never hear from them again. So that's a very interesting part of the process of you making sure that the franchise you're buying into is the right one for you, dependent on how much support you get from the franchise, and also chatting to other existing franchisees. And if there isn't an opportunity to chat to other people that are running the business, then that should be a little bit of a sort of warning sign, because you want to have that openness and the ability to sort of really understand from the people that are doing it currently.
And that's a really good point, because like we said, 65% of small businesses unfortunately fail.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess a lot of those people just walk away. But actually, if you've got the support of that franchise, and you're more likely to succeed, but if for whatever reason you decide being a business owner isn't for you, you actually get support in selling that business, and
I've had that
hopefully get something back.
No. And we'd be naive to not acknowledge that things happen to people, don't they? So I've certainly had a couple of franchisees where it was all going great, and then for personal reasons it's not just worked out. So that, and of course, you're right, if it was them on their own doing that, they would just wave bye-bye to the business. But actually, with my support and the team support, we work things out. So no, you're right, it's very much, you're not in it alone. However, you are given that opportunity to be a business owner in your own right, and add to it.
Yeah, such a less risky way to run your own.
Absolutely, yeah. But finding out, how comfortable people are is important.
And would you say you need experience of your franchise? So, for example, we talked about the travel counsellors. I think that is a big franchise. So, would you need experience of being a travel agent?
No, I think generally,
or running a coffee shop or whatever you chose
I think
to do.
some franchises might require, and that's where it's worth looking on something like the BFA website to sort of see the requirements. So if I look at ours, for example, we say I generally like somebody to have had experience of managing a team, because that's what's involved in offering what we do. But just sort of do your research on that. But no, ultimately, buying the franchise, you have that induction process, and somewhere it is, learning a system. You're in someone's office, and I've sort of witnessed that with some franchises where people are having training for, a month or so at a time in order to get up to speed. So no, I think generally you don't, but it's worth it looking as part of your sort of interest in that business to check what they're looking for.
Okay. And then in terms of flexibility, how flexible can a franchise be?
Well, we all love that flexibility word, don't we? And I think, generally very flexible, because if you're going in with your eyes open, it's about whether you need to build a team around you to support you. But there are definitely ones that are part-time hours, term time only, through to ones that seem to be a lot bigger. But I think the beauty of buying into a franchise means you're in charge of where you spend your time and how you recruit other people to support you.
Okay. And so we've talked about the British franchise. Is it British Franchise Institute, BFI? Is that the one?
BFA, British Franchise Association.
BFA, sorry. So the BFA website is a good place to search for franchises. Yes. And then I guess a few will come up. What would be the thought process you'd recommend, some of the checklists somebody goes through, and any red flags that they should be aware of when choosing a franchise that they may want to invest in?
I think it's doing, as we all do, our sort of due diligence, never get that word out, online. So checking out how that franchise appears online. So are they consistent? Are they saying what they actually say they do? Can you see evidence of that? Always have conversations, like we said before. So have an initial conversation with the franchisor. Make sure you speak to people that are actually live and doing it at the moment, and that'll give you a real sort of flavour as to what they're doing, and look at where they're appearing. Where are they advertising? What articles have they been in? Have they won any awards? It's just that sort of sense of being a bit of a detective behind the scenes, I think, is really important. But also visiting them face to face is key, and that goes to the franchisor as much as to the prospect franchisee, because you need to see the whites of their eyes. You need to really feel that actually you would get on, because it's quite important.
Yeah. And then if you signed up for a franchise, what would you typically expect? So you say you get a business in a box. What comes in that box?
So generally it'll be a web presence. So with our franchise, each franchisee has their own page on the website, sort of like a mini website. You'd have all the collateral needed to set up. So for me, it's business cards, rate cards, everything my franchisee needs to do to sort of start promoting. A lot of training. So if it's a particular system you need to learn, you'd get all that training, CRM systems. We provide LinkedIn training, for example, because I need our franchisees to be active on there. Generally, photographs, the whole branding piece is something you would expect to get. And then I would imagine most franchises set you up to have sort of touch points, so regular one-to-ones with the franchisor. We, for example, have a monthly team meeting. All of those things, all those touch points are really important. So training, maybe a conference. So it's all those sorts of things that sort of form part of your ongoing package.
Brilliant. So I know that people book discovery calls with you. So if they're booking a discovery call with you or another franchisee, obviously franchisor, that's the right word. Sorry, I always get confused. They'll be checking that you are going to get the training for your investment. You're getting that ongoing support. You're getting the branding
and the financial model. You want to understand, well, how, being very brutal, how am I, the franchisee, going to make money, and how's that working, and how scalable is that model? Because that's generally the piece, it's proven and also scalable. So if you need to feel comfortable that the time you're putting into this investment is going to deliver what you personally want as an income ongoing.
Yeah. And I guess you'd be looking, and would a franchise or franchise company be quite open? Should they be quite transparent about what other franchisees are doing?
Yes. So you would generally be asked to sign confidentiality, an NDA, just for them to release that information. But that would be a warning sign for me if you're not being presented with scenarios for making the business work, because ultimately you need to have that reassurance.
Yeah. Okay. It sounds great. Do you know, I love the sound of a franchise. And, before I set up Investing Women, I actually messaged a few recruitment companies to see if they
I can imagine. Yeah.
But they never got back to me. I mean, it was the pandemic. I don't know, but yeah.
Not. But I could see investing in women going global.
Okay. Well, there you go. I'll come to you for advice. Tell people a bit about Get Ahead then, and what you do and how you support businesses and how people could get involved as a franchise.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you. So we call ourselves an outsourcing agency. So we ultimately provide the busy business owner at different stages of their development with outsourced business and marketing support. So we currently have a team of over 80 virtual experts, and we match those experts to our clients depending on what support they need. So maybe it's a startup that needs some telephone answering and some admin support, or maybe it's a larger business that needs to have specific resource as and when they're growing, or perhaps they've got a project. We ultimately love supporting clients at their stages of growth, and it's lovely when we can prove to that client that we can find the right expert for them at the right time. And I scaled the business through the franchise model because I couldn't be everywhere. We've always supplied and serviced clients throughout the UK, but ultimately, as we all know, people buy from people. So the franchisee of ours at Get Ahead buy a territory, and that's something else to consider when you're buying a franchise. Are you going to be not necessarily, I'd say, restricted by a territory, but is there a territory that you're given? And the reason we've done that is because I wanted to give my franchisees a dedicated area that they can go physically out networking and meet clients. But ultimately, franchisees join us with a whole network already established. So that's absolutely fine for them to sort of bring those into the network. But the territory enables the franchisee to go networking. They meet clients that need that support, and then they match them to members of our team. And that's a big plus for our franchisees, and they don't have to worry about finding virtual experts to do the delivery, because our resourcing team are constantly on the lookout for new freelancers to join our team. So that's constantly being pumped. And and also virtual experts will come in, they'll get lots of hours, and then they won't be available to other people, which is why we need more and more. But equally, we're often seen as a wonderful place for somebody that's just starting out in that freelance journey to join and be part of a community. So we're hugely aware that the virtual world can be lonely. So that's why we've created a lovely community with lunch and learns and training and meetups, and just that general support online and also offline as well, which is important.
Yeah. Absolutely. So they go to networking events, so I'm guessing and I guess you try and get the territories close to their local area.
Yes, so we build that. So I've currently got 10 regions in the UK. So we build around, and we're a growing franchise, so there are lots of opportunities. So we build around somebody. So we're just going to be launching down in Bournemouth, for example. So we've built a territory around my new franchisee where she lives, and make sure she can easily commute out to various networking meetings. But as we all know, so much is done online now anyway. So that's really given us sort of a more flexible approach to how we're doing it. But the networking is a wonderful pipeline, as well as the website and social media. But ultimately, going networking and chatting to other business owners, and as we all know, you're not just speaking to that business owner in the room, you're speaking to their network, who they're connected to as well. So for me, that's why I was saying earlier, I need somebody that's used to managing people, because the franchisees that we have to manage our virtual experts and project manage and make sure that they are sort of doing that proper client delivery. But what's lovely for my franchisees, they don't have to do the client delivery themselves. So that's where the scalability comes in. So again, that's something worth thinking about when you're looking at franchising. How scalable are they? Is it just around you, or are you able to sort of have some element of scale through team members and things?
Okay. And do those people then, apart from networking, work from home?
Yes, they all work from their home office, and they can have a branded home office like mine if they wish. But no, I think that's what's so lovely, Liz, now, isn't it? Over the last few years, no one has to pretend that they're in some empire.
I know what you mean.
My home office, yes, the dog is sitting down there, and I'm sorry if he might bark. We're real now, aren't we? But no, they base from home and network, go to coffee shops. Co-working spaces are amazing places where my franchisees meet potential clients and also feel part of a community. But networking's huge, isn't it? And I remember when I first started my business, I felt quite shy, and I thought, how am I actually going to get out there? But it's amazing when you're talking about something that gives you energy and joy, it's much easier to communicate that in a sort of a larger arena like networking. And I've met some wonderful friends through my face-to-face networking, and they're very much sort of, you know, part of my sort of inner circle, and that's really important and also lovely as well.
Yeah. So and then hours, what do people typically work?
For my franchise, it's generally part-time hours, so we'll slot around the school hour, but equally can scale as well. So I'm, again, not naive that some people work better in the morning, some people like working in the evening. I've never liked doing evening work, so I very much set the business up to enable me to have that time when my children were younger. So part-time, being efficient, you know, I love the use of things like Calendly to send out links and manage diaries, and, you know, there's so many ways of being flexible, aren't there now?
Yeah.
And not feel like you've got to work a million hours a day, and actually just being available and responsive. And I think that's, you know, as a franchise owner, I want my team to make sure that they've got the core values that Get Ahead have, which is, you know, very strong communicators.
Really, yeah, absolutely. So how would someone find out a little bit more, maybe find out if where they lived was available as a territory with you? And
yes, so find me on LinkedIn's where I sort of hang out a lot, so find me on there or on our website getaheadba.com. We're currently about to launch a new website in April, which is exciting, and that sort of will give you more visibility about the areas. But again, I can always work with people to make sure that the territory that they've got is available and good for them. But yeah, videos, and obviously the Investing in Women, I love, Liz, that you're really ramping up and creating a spotlight on franchising, which is great. So thank you for that, because it's that whole education piece, isn't it? And we're both huge advocates of flexible working, and, you know, you've got to live your life, but also why sacrifice the type of work you're doing just because it won't quite fit in with day-to-day life.
Yeah. We've had somebody ask us about, I think they're asking about looking as a job seeker. So how do they register for you, go in your pool of experts?
Oh yes, if you go directly onto our website, there's a Join Us page, and you can fill out the form on there, and that goes right through to our resourcing team. So no, that would be brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant. So everything should be on the Get Ahead website. We'll put all the links on the replay show notes. As always, the replay will be available on the Investing in Women website in the next few days. But hopefully on this live, I've put your website as well, and
brilliant.
People will be able to navigate that and connect with Rebecca. She's also in the Facebook group as well. So if you want to learn anything about franchising, I'm sure you'd be happy. I'm sure if anybody's got any questions just generally about franchising, maybe
totally. Yeah, no, so I'm a franchise consultant as well. So absolutely, if you've got anything, if you're thinking your business might have legs and be scalable, which I'm sure it will have, I'm always up for a conversation. So yeah,
brilliant. Oh well, yeah. And Rebecca is the queen of franchising. So thank you, the queen of franchising. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure to chat with you and learn more about franchising and Get Ahead. So thank you.
Happy Easter.
Yeah, see you later. Thanks for watching, everybody.